Was Lewis Hamilton's refusal to let Charles Leclerc pass in Baku an act of defiance that exposed Ferrari's deepest weakness? Did the seven-time world champion just prove that Ferrari's legendary team orders are built on a foundation of chaos? And most importantly, was this the moment Hamilton stopped being Ferrari's newcomer and became the man who will reshape their entire culture? The final straight at Baku lasted just 15 seconds. But in those 15 seconds, Lewis Hamilton didn't just disobey a Ferrari team order, he pulled back the curtain on a dysfunction so deep that it's been hiding in plain sight for years. What you're about to discover will change how you see not just Hamilton's move, but Ferrari's entire approach to championship racing. Here's what really happened on that final straight. According to the race data and radio communications, Ferrari found themselves in a nightmare scenario they created entirely by themselves. Hamilton was running 8th, Leclerc 9th, but lurking just 2 seconds behind was Yuki Tsunoda in the RB, hungry for points and closing fast. Ferrari's pit wall, led by race engineer Riccardo Adami, made what seemed like a simple call: swap positions, let Charles through. But here's where it gets interesting. The timing of this order reveals Ferrari's fundamental problem. They weren't managing strategy. They were managing panic. Hamilton had fought his way up from a shocking Q2 elimination. Leclerc had crashed in Q3 without even setting a lap time. Both Ferrari cars were wounded, with Leclerc's energy recovery system failing and his power unit compromised. Yet somehow, Ferrari convinced themselves they could orchestrate a seamless position swap with 2 laps remaining and a hungry competitor breathing down their necks. The radio transcript tells the real story. Adami's voice cracked as he added, "Tsunoda is 2 seconds behind." This wasn't a confident strategic move. It was a desperate attempt to salvage something from a weekend that had already gone horribly wrong. But what happened next exposes a pattern at Ferrari that goes far deeper than one botched team order. Because when you examine Hamilton's actual response on track, the data reveals something Ferrari doesn't want you to know about their legendary control over drivers. Watch the onboard footage carefully. Hamilton doesn't ignore the order. He processes it like the strategic mastermind he is. The telemetry shows him lifting off the throttle, moving offline to the left, opening a clear path for Leclerc to pass. This wasn't rebellion. This was textbook risk management. But here's what Ferrari's pit wall missed. Leclerc hesitated. The gap was there, the door was open, but Charles didn't take it. Why? Because Leclerc's wounded car couldn't mount a convincing overtake. And both drivers knew that attempting a risky move with Tsunoda closing in could cost Ferrari not just 8th place, but 9th as well. Hamilton's calculation was surgical. He gave Ferrari what they asked for, compliance. But he did it in a way that protected both Ferrari cars from the real threat behind them. The cameras captured this as hesitation. The headlines screamed defiance, but the data tells a different story. Hamilton slowed, moved offline, and waited. Leclerc never made the move. At the checkered flag, Hamilton held 8th, Leclerc finished 9th, and Tsunoda remained safely behind in 10th. Ferrari kept both positions, but somehow turned this tactical success into a public relations disaster. Yet the most revealing part of this story isn't what happened on track. It's how Ferrari's response afterward exposed exactly why they've been struggling to maximize their potential for years. In the immediate aftermath, Ferrari's response revealed their real problem. Instead of celebrating the fact that they'd secured both positions despite the chaos, they turned on their own drivers. Leclerc's post-race comment, "Rules were not respected," wasn't about strategy. It was about pride. Being denied immediate obedience by Hamilton, even for strategic reasons, cut deeper than losing a position ever could. Meanwhile, team principal Fred Vasseur dismissed the entire incident as a misjudgment, as if a single miscalculation could explain what we just witnessed. But engineers from rival teams saw something different in Hamilton's data trace. According to paddock sources, Mercedes insiders watching the race described it as vintage Lewis, protecting multiple positions while the pit wall froze under pressure. The pattern becomes clear when you examine Ferrari's radio communications over the past seasons. Vague orders, shifting blame, and a culture where preserving hierarchy matters more than maximizing results. Hamilton's measured response in Baku wasn't about disrespecting rules. It was about exposing a system that prioritizes appearance over substance. But this incident reveals something even more significant about Hamilton's role at Ferrari going forward. And it's not what anyone expected when he signed that contract. What we witnessed in Baku wasn't just a failed team order. It was Hamilton beginning to reshape Ferrari's culture from within. At Mercedes, Hamilton worked with engineers who provided clarity. Bono's instructions were sharp, built on trust and clear communication. At Ferrari, Hamilton has discovered a system where silence becomes a weapon and vagueness serves as a shield. The evidence suggests Hamilton is no longer the outsider adapting to Ferrari's methods. He's becoming the voice that forces Ferrari to confront its own weaknesses. His calm response to an impossible order didn't just protect the team's points, it exposed the dysfunction that's been holding Ferrari back from championship contention. Consider the broader implications. With 7 races remaining in what could be a crucial Constructors' Championship fight, Ferrari is broadcasting confusion while their rivals demonstrate unity. Mercedes rises through clear communication, Red Bull survives through operational efficiency, but Ferrari continues to fracture in public view. This brings us to the questions that will define the rest of Hamilton's Ferrari career. Will the team learn from Baku and adapt their communication style to match Hamilton's strategic thinking? Or will they continue trying to impose a hierarchical system on a driver who's proven he sees situations more clearly than their pit wall? The upcoming races will be crucial. Every team order, every strategic decision, every radio communication will be scrutinized not just for its immediate impact, but for what it reveals about Ferrari's ability to evolve. Hamilton has already shown he won't simply comply with flawed instructions, he'll execute them in ways that expose their weaknesses. For Leclerc, the stakes are equally high. His response to Baku suggests a driver struggling with the reality that Ferrari's protection of him may be weakening his position rather than strengthening it. Every complaint about rules not being respected makes him appear less like a team leader and more like someone caught in Ferrari's storm. In the end, Hamilton's victory in Baku wasn't measured in championship points, it was measured in control. He turned Ferrari's trap into a teaching moment, their dysfunction into data, their confusion into clarity. The empire he joined may be built on legendary success, but it's also haunted by systematic problems that have prevented them from maximizing their potential. The civil war at Ferrari isn't between Hamilton and Leclerc, it's between old methods and new realities. And based on what we saw in Baku, Hamilton isn't just driving their cars anymore, he's driving their evolution. What do you think? Was Hamilton's move in Baku calculated strategy or subtle rebellion? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe because the next chapter in this Ferrari transformation is going to be unmissable.